You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome. There's something in the air, a dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time will somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the farce revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. 'Cause this is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, feeling all the hearts ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever. The The secret is whenever, the secret is together we are. Good morning. It's a beautiful Sunday here in St. George. We're so happy that you have joined us here today at Center for Spiritual Living St. George. It's a beautiful community that we're building, and we're happy that you are a part of it. So we practice Arise. Awareness, radical responsibility, inside out focus. Spirit is all there is. Everyone is doing the best they can with what they have and where they are. And so am I. You betcha. All right. Our vision here at CSL St. George is that we are a community focused center actively living, sharing, and nurturing its members and friends so that all may live their best lives. And our mission is to be an open, inclusive, and evolving spiritual community. Emphasis on the evolving that supports its purpose and mission through sacred wisdom celebrations such as this, empowering transformative education, such as the class that just finished this last week, youth and adult programs. I just lost my slides. Let me bring them back up again. Here we go. Thank you for your patience. So we have yet to manifest our youth and young adult programs, but those are in our vision and in our thoughts always as we make plans for our tomorrows together. We have a dynamic music ministry, and that is expanding too as we make our plans for the future. And we include community in-reach, meaning reaching and trying to support our members, and community outreach, in which we contribute and participate in local nonprofits and other needs. So our mission is grand, and we're delighted to be working on that. Okay, so here's our team for today, which has this kind of last minute shift, if you will. I'm Marina Anderson. If I didn't introduce myself before, I'm doing triple duty today, so I appreciate your patience as we move through this beautiful service. I'm teching. I will be your host today, and I will also be doing the reading in a few minutes. Alan was unable to participate with us today. He was the musician on task this week. However, his computer unexpectedly crashed last night, so we scrambled and figured out that we could blessedly use some of Donnie Lee's videos to play a little music for you today. So we'll have a couple of those coming up. They are beautiful songs. And blessings to you, Alan, as you figure out your technology transition. Our invocation today is by Sue Fulmer, who is one of our practitioners and is also finishing up her last term as secretary on the Core Council. She has put in 6 years plus probably a little before that. And so we're just so grateful for her dedication, her commitment to our community, and wish her well as she becomes a simple congregant but still a practitioner. So you will continue to be able to use her services for prayer and service and outside of that. Our talk today is by our practitioners. We like to call them the practitioners plugged in. And so that is Sue, as I mentioned before, Bill Smith, and Stephanie Starrett. So I'm going to lead us start our first musical video here shortly.
and by Donnie Lee. And then I will pop Sue Fulmer's lovely face up after that first video, and she will share her invocation with us. And then I will do a reading, and then we'll have a second Donnie Lee song after that. And then I'll be back to lead us into our practitioners plugged in. So hold on to your seat. Here we go.
Whoa. I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you awaken to the wonder that you are. I'm here to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you that you're truly loved. I'm here to remind you of your magnificence, help you awaken to the wonder that you are. I'm here to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you that you're truly loved. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. Oh, how could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul. I'm here to show you all the joy you're worthy of. I'm here to remind you that you're truly loved.
In this beautiful moment of prayer, join me in that sweet spirit that has been set. I breathe in and I recognize the presence of the Holy Spirit. I feel that presence in, through, around myself, knowing it is all that is, knowing that it is everywhere present. And I speak in that presence, knowing that I have a spark of the Holy Divine within me, and all those listening to my words and throughout the world have that beautiful divine spark within them. We are one. I recognize this special Sunday service provided by CSL St. George, and I bless it. And I know that the Spirit resides and that the words of truth are going out through the miracle of the internet into the hearts of those that are listening, teaching, sharing, loving, guiding. I am grateful for our practitioners, for the beautiful service of prayer that they give to us, and the guidance and love that they have devoted their lives to. Knowing that all is well, that Marina, juggling all three of her services today, will do so with expertise. Grateful for her knowledge, for her love and service. We are so blessed as a community, as a spiritual family, and knowing as I release my word that it is only better all the time, knowing that the law is there to work upon our word for the very best and highest. And I say, and so it is.
Well, I'm back. Thank you, Sue. That was beautiful. And thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it. So, our theme for today is blossoming through the swaying, I think is how it's going. And I can't help but think about dancing when I hear that word swaying. And so that led me to the thought about um, our spirituality, not just being of the mind and the soul and the spirit, but also of the body, this human form in which we walk around the world in, and that carries our spirit and soul and personality into the world. Um, Clarissa Pinkola Estes teaches us, she's one of my favorite authors. She teaches us that our body is our soul and mind's greatest partner, that it is always working for our good. As soon as we're injured or ill, it immediately kicks into healing. It's just, we don't even have to think about it. It just happens. And I was injured recently and really have been reminded on how beautiful the healing process is. And I'm so grateful that my body is good at healing. It's wonderful. So, um, my reading today is from the book Living in Process by Ann Wilson Sheff. This is a book that I discovered about 25 years ago, and it has been a huge resource for me in bringing my spirituality and my sense of soul into my daily life, which was kind of hard at first. I felt like it was separate. I would go to a retreat and then not want to go home because I didn't want to leave that profound space. And I just happened upon this book um, a couple days after I had come home from that thing. And the theme of it is living in process, is about the common everyday living of our spirituality, no matter where we are or what we're doing. And it's, as I said, it's been a really important book for me to bring my faith and my spirituality into my daily life. So this section seems just so appropriate for today. Oops. It's called Bridging the Body, Mind, Spirit Split. And again, this is Ann Wilson, chef in Living in Process. In order to approach spiritual maturity and develop and support our spiritual growth, we have to bridge the mind-body split that is so entrenched in our society. We have separated body from mind and spirit and have progressively learned to ignore the wisdoms of our bodies. We have cut ourselves off from the vast stores of information in our bodies and lost the balance of the whole of our beings. Our minds are extraordinary and can participate in marvelous processes. And when they are not balanced with our bodies and our spirits, they can become insane tyrants, feeding on their own thought processes. When we split our minds and our bodies and our spirits, we create what Morris Berman, author of The Reenchantment of the World, calls a disenchanted world. We lose the magic and the livingness of the world. We stop participating in the world around us. Our bodies have so much information for us. They store memories, current and archaic. Our bodies help us remember more than we believe we can remember. Our bodies warn us of danger. They tell us when someone is lying to us and when something is not quite right. The seat of our intuition is in our bodies, and a total body knowing is much, much different from a head knowing. We need to have open communication, open body, mind, and spirit to live in process. That reminds me of, we've talked before about, is it a full body? Yes, that's what that reminded me of for sure. When we split body and mind, or when we split body, mind, spirit, we become imbalanced as human beings. Living in process, then, is an action spirituality that evolves from our beings, expressing a spirituality that permeates all things. Living in process evolved out of the present needs of individuals to heal and address the demands of today while reaching back through the eons to a deep, deep knowledge of the spiritual that was planted in the DNA of our ancestors. Our ancestors. Living in process is a spiritual living made possible only with full participation in life. All is process. Process is all. Spirituality cannot be separated from the process of the whole. We can use any number of substances or processes to shut off our feelings, which in turn shuts off our most direct access to our spiritual knowing. When we split our wholeness, we split spiritually. So I encourage us all to stay connected to our bodies these days and enhance our spiritual process. Happy living in process to you.
What would I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed that the wind would always fill up my sail, how far would I go? What could I achieve trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread. Never lose faith, even when losing my way. What would I say today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What if we're all meant to do what we secretly dream? Yeah. What would you do if you knew you could have anything? Like the mighty ocean in the heart of the sea, are there miracles in you and me? If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where true believers dare to tread. Never lose faith, even when losing my way. What would I say today if I were brave? Oh yeah. What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? If I were brave, yeah. I would climb the highest mountain, cross the widest sea. Nothing would separate me from my dreams. I would walk the longest desert, climb the highest road. If I were brave. Oh, yes, if I were brave. Never lose faith, even when losing my way. What would I say today? What would I say today? What would I say today if I were brave?
Okay, this is harder than I thought. It's so funny. So I would really love to welcome now the first of our practitioners for the day, Sue Fulmer. Thanks. Welcome back, Sue.
Thank you. Oh, what would I be doing today if I were brave? I guess speaking in a public meeting.
I guess so. I guess so. Take it away, my friend.
Thank you. Oh, and thank you, Marina, for all you're doing today. I loved your reading. And you'll see how you were in harmony with the spirit of my talk, at least. I love it when a plan comes together like that. And you'll see in a little while. So I'm happy to join my practitioner buddies in speaking to you today. It happens to be a holy day for our Muslim friends. It's called Eid al-Fitr. Not sure about the punctuation or pronunciation. It is the festival of breaking the fast that marks the end of Ramadan. The holiday celebrates the conclusion of the dawn to sunset fasting during the previous month. It's a joyous time of celebration, but this year it is overshadowed by the war with Israel. And so I send my prayers for a resolution to the conflict and the restoration of peace and happiness to the people on both sides. Well, for today, let's start with a quick review of our CSL St. George month. The first week of March introduced us to the theme, the flow of coming and going. I like the title of Reverend Joe's first week's talk, Navigating the Tides of Life. One of my favorite things to do is watch the tide come in and out when I visit the ocean. I remember one morning in Saipan, where I spent a wonderful summer, we went out to the beach when the tide was out. Little ponds of water held beautiful colored fish, and I saw some starfish that were unbelievably deep blue color. And I learned that they lose that color when they die and get sun bleached. It was another world of discovery when the flow of the ocean receded. So as Joe talked about navigating the tides of life, he taught us that the trained mind brings you back to balance. And living unconsciously is when you think life happens to you when it is really happening for you. He ended with our affirmation for that day, I flow in the frequency of joy and love. On week 2, March 9th, Reverend Joe talked about one of our my favorite subjects, intuition, maybe yours too. That is the still small voice that whispers within. He shared with us about a blessing in his life of a job opportunity that he got at the prison in Las Vegas and how it had a positive impression on him and the inmates that he counseled. He told us about the inspiration to apply for the position and the still small voice telling him to answer the telephone when he was contacted to be hired. Our affirmation that day was, I take time each day to be in perfect stillness. I receive wisdom and guidance perfect for me. March 16th, Joe talked about, I had it, I lost it. I thought that was typical of me. I will review some of his thoughts from that day later in my talk. The affirmation was, today I let go and allow the self to be. Capital S on self. Last week, practitioner Stephanie gave the reading, and she related a touching entry from her personal journal about her experience, saying, Holy Spirit always leads me home. Miracles lay in wait. I am ready. Are you? Loved it, Stephanie. Before Reverend Rachel gave us a powerful in-person message, Alan, who coordinates his music so well with the subject of the talks, saying, I am the thinker that thinks the thought. Or as he sings it, I am the thinker that thinks a lot. Reverend Rachel shared quotes from several popular figures, from philosophers and religious leaders to scientists and the quantum theory, about when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. The affirmation for last week was, I plant my intentions with love and trust. Rooted in gratitude, they blossom as they must. This talk was a perfect summary for the class that just ended, Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life, taught by Reverend Rachel. I enjoyed being part of that class group, especially when each participant presented a project at the final class. And we committed to continue refining our thoughts and manifesting positively in relationships, abundance, and health. In the face of the ongoing ebb and flow of life's changes, how can we flourish and bloom? How do we find comfort in discomfort and be true to the truth of who we are? This week, we explore how being true to who we are opens the door to being open at the top and blossoming in the swaying. I see Marina dancing too with the swaying. This brings to my mind a beautiful tree in my neighborhood that I see when I walk Stormy. Right now, it is full of white blossoms, so beautiful. And it appeared like snow falling a couple of times lately when the wind was blowing. Blossoms float gently to the ground. It is a sign of change. I watch that tree for signs of the seasons, and it never ceases to change. It takes me out of my comfort zone a little bit as the last of the autumn leaves fall, and it signals the start of cold weather and winter. I am a sun worshiper, and I grit my teeth for the cold and usual pain that comes with winter. I'm working on changing those thoughts. We can always count on the weather to tell us about change. How are you with change? Not just the seasons, but the inevitable changes in life. And this is what takes me back to Reverend Joe's talk on the week 3. It was called, I Had It, I Lost It. And Reverend Joe talked about aging and used the example of losing our eyesight or our hearing or both as we get older. He reminded us that we have the radical responsibility to go with the flow without resistance, to allow it to be, to change our perception about who am I, to I am that I am. During the lesson, I not only thought, who am I thought, how old am I? I have learned that beginnings and endings are linear and part of the illusion of being separated from God and all that is. I really enjoyed contemplating the affirmation, today I let go and allow the self to be. Any change can generate discomfort as it takes us out of our comfort zone, out of what we know, and even out of what we have taken for granted. Sometimes change involves moving away or losing loved ones that move, or even possibly the permanence of death. A big change that I'm experiencing now is aging. I had another birthday just last month. I'm at the age that the doctor says, well, that's to be expected at your age, or you're doing well for your age. That's a good example of our ageist society. He doesn't say that to everybody. I prefer to hear what some of our spiritual teachers are saying about aging, that it doesn't have to mean decline. The most recent was a channeling from Cryon with Lee Carroll. They said, as you grow in consciousness, your lifespan will increase and you get better and better. Decline is not going to be the norm. I'm not getting older. I truly am getting better. I'm blessed and I'm raising my consciousness so that I will be so blissed I won't even notice my age. Is the subject of aging just for old people? I think we all have our own perspective of what old is. We've all been aging since the day we were born. Since we had our 8th birthday, our 21st birthday, we thought we were over the hill at 40, and many think they have one foot in the grave at 80. We humans are so linear. I imagine where there is no time in God think. It's because life is a continuation. There is no beginning and end. The body is that old comfortable sweatshirt that we've worn for years and years, fraying around the collar and the sleeves, thinning and threadbare, drooping and sagging. and one day we trade it for something brand new. I am reminded of the quote that I've always loved by Robert Browning. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last for which the first was made. If we can develop a belief, a faith, a knowing in the continuation and eternality of life, it makes the changes easier. With the fear of change removed, we can go forward in joy and in appreciation for each and every day. As we see the blossoming of the new spring ahead, I pray we find the joy in the changing seasons of our lives, just like the changes of the seasons reflected by the trees. Namaste. And we'll go on to our next speaker, which is Stephanie.
Hi. Oh, Sue, that was great. I enjoyed how you wove that together. That was really, really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Okay, so my part of today was to speak of what wholeness is. Wholeness is holy. It's absolute. There's no exception to wholeness. It can never be reversed. The real you is very holy, made in the image of the Creator. It creates, however, you make what you see. The Holy Spirit in each of us sees all that God is, but it also sees all that I made. We are each individualized bubbles, I call it. By this, I mean we live in our own man-made, self-made worlds. This is brought about by our perceptions and projections and how we view everything that we see. But I can never change who I really am. That's where my invulnerability lays. I can trust that. And that is what brings me to me talking about the Holy Spirit and what it really is. These projections and judgments that we make about how we see life, what we see that's going on in the world today, and our opinions of it, our ideas, what we think is happening out there, is a product of the small mind. We came here to see what it was like not to be God, not to see what it was like to be God. We already are that inside. And to me, it's like, okay, now it's time for me to find my way back to who and what I really am. So there's a couple of things that our outline asked us to speak about. One of them was sacred activism, being a sacred advocate, sorry. And I'd like to say that for me, the only thing that I would advocate for is freedom. I know Ernest Holmes often said, God is for something, but it's never against anything. And so I see a lot of that division in the world, and I am saddened by it. But then I look at this bubble of a world that I've created that I see, and I decided that there's got to be a better way, that I've got to be able to choose this life that I created for myself, choose another way of me seeing the world, so that what presents itself outside of me changes. And that's the only way that I have been able to grow and blossom inside and hear a more prevalent voice that it's always been there, but I've been too busy with all of this small stuff in my head. So let's see, what else can I say? Okay, individualized doesn't mean you look outside yourself to mimic someone else. It means God created you in its image, not your own. Your own is the one you made. It's the limited mind. So to get back to you are whole already, I think on this as more of a divine bubble, not anyone else's. There's nothing, there's really, really nothing outside of you, outside of myself. This is where inclusivity lives. It's inside. This is the sacred self activity, making life, the life you choose to experience, appear before your eyes. Remember this, and you will succeed in everything you desire. I'm going to bring up a slide now that I called the gap. And I want to talk about it because I had an experience with it. I studied the Course in Miracles a lot. And in one of the verses, I read, the way to recognize your brother is recognizing the Holy Spirit is already in him. So if this is so, I had a friend of mine who teaches the course right now where I'm going. And he put together this in the living room of where we meet. And there's like about 30, 40 people around. And so he put a cushion on one side of the room, and he put another cushion, different shape, color, on the other side of the room. And then he said, the Holy Spirit, which is inside you, is in the middle. And it sees both God, and it sees you, and it sees your perceived other. So there's a voice in that, but it is inclusive of the Holy Spirit, your higher self, the voice for God. It's all the same thing, okay? The Holy Spirit, however, is in constant contact with God itself, the one mind, which is the true you. So on the left of your screen, you see you, your perceptions, the circumstances you judge, what your subconscious rules that is projected outside of you. You make the world you live in, and this is the limited self. And then you look out in the world and you see perceived others out there, when in actuality they're fractals of your own mind, your brothers, every pronoun, gender, inclusive, even nature, the whole world you see. Now, how you can bridge this gap is actually what ends separation. And you can do this as an exercise. And so I'm going to lead you guys through an exercise. It'll take just a minute. But it's going to be an exercise. It's not what it requires feeling, but not the kind of feeling like the feeling you have inside you, or how you're feeling somebody else is feeling about you. What you want to do is recognize a sense of your connection to the higher Holy Spirit within you. And what you do, and this is a tool you will have once you experience this that you'll never want to not have, because it'll help you change your perspective instantly without you doing a thing, because it is the Holy Spirit within you that reverses every thought that is not the truth of who you really are. Okay, so you just pick someone that you maybe have an issue with. It could be a neighbor, a friend, a family member, or a politician. It does not matter, because there is only one being right now, and you are it. So it doesn't matter which one you choose. And I want you to see them as that other cushion. And what I want you to do is to just take a deep breath and just kind of relax into this feeling of the Holy Spirit. It is a place that is silent. It doesn't take anything serious. Just let the noises of the small mind, just notice them go by, and just feel into this peace. Pretty much that's how I feel when I connect to the Holy Spirit. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to travel to that other cushion in a loop that sees God and sees you and sees the other. And you're going to travel to the top in that feeling sense of the Holy Spirit itself. And you're going to see that as it drifts over to the other. And you're going to notice, I want you to notice that the Holy Spirit is also in this other. And what this does is it releases my need to do anything, because I recognize that it already exists in the other. This ends the separation between the two of us. There is nothing going on out there but a thought. And thoughts are not neutral. And so I ask the Holy Spirit to reverse my thought. And as that happens, I notice that I'm at peace, and it doesn't matter anymore what this other individual is doing. I only see the holiness, the oneness that is both of us. And I can let go of any circumstance that is around it. I call this the what bridges the gap, ends the separation, and it's the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, the voice for God, your higher self, is the true you. It is the one mind. It is God. And you are powerful no matter how you look at things. You can look at things negatively, like Ernest Holmes said, and you can create the division, the divisiveness, and the holy terror that is going on that you see, or you can heal it in 1 minute or less inside yourself, no matter what circumstance you are in, no matter what's happening around you. And it is absolutely phenomenal once you experience it. Because once you experience something, there's a still small smile on your face. And all of a sudden, this holiness within you, it becomes more alive, I'm going to say, more constant. And the other things seem to fade away out of your view. And then you are actually being the true advocate of freedom. And so with that, I'd like to end my talk today and introduce Bill.
Good morning. Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you got kind of deep on us there with a healing process. I like it.
That's
Yeah.
what we need to do. Yep. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. I also want to thank Sue for her portion of today's talk. And you guys left me just the perfect amount of time. So I thank you for that. Good morning to Utah, and or afternoon or evening, depending on where and when you are. I'm Bill Smith. I'm also one of the practitioners at Centers for Spiritual Living, or I guess we're kind of transitioning into calling those spiritual coaches. And I'm also talking about blossoming in the swaying. And as I think a couple people have talked about today, it's an appropriate time for this talk title is like just yesterday, I was out looking at my fruit trees on my property here in New Harmony, and they're all in full bud. They're like days away from just blowing up with blossoms. And but then by early afternoon yesterday, the winds had kicked up, and there was plenty of swaying going on in my orchard anyway. But I'm sure we're not really here to talk about horticulture, but more about how to thrive in difficult situations or difficult times, about how we can flourish in times of change by staying true to who we are and remaining open at the top. I want to say that again. In times of change, how we can flourish by staying true to who we are and remaining open at the top. So let's, there's a mouthful in that statement. So let's unpack that just a bit. First of all, staying true to who we are requires a definition of who we are, or in the individual sense, who you are. And secondly, what the heck does open at the top mean? And I think we'll go into each of those. Let's start with who we are, or who you are. From this, in the Science of Mind, there's a document called the Declaration of Principles. It's also kind of referred to as what we believe. And I want to cite a couple of points from that. The first one is, we believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. And when we talk about this mind, I think Ernest Holmes is talking about universal mind that we all share. And kind of some of the background behind that, Moses said, if we live in harmony with spirit, everything we do shall prosper. Religious science teaches us that through right knowledge of the science of mind, we can consciously demonstrate practical results of spiritual thought. So we should expect that if our thoughts are in tune with the infinite, with the one, that everything we do should prosper. So that's the first point in the Declaration of Principles, or the first principle I wanted to talk about. The second principle goes like this. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. And I guess what that's trying to say is we believe in an internal upward spiral, constantly spiraling upward in our existence. In other words, if our mind is right, we can expect to triumph over any and all difficulty. Now, with these two principles in mind, I think we should be able to expect that through proper thought, through right thought, as Ernest Holmes referred to it, to control our life conditions and overcome any and all obstacles in our path. This sounds simple, but in reality, it's not easy. But that's the objective, to continually define and redefine who we are by focusing our thoughts on a continually rising level of consciousness. All right, so that kind of helps us understand who we are, and at least in the spiritual sense. But what about this open at the top? What does that mean? And what does it have to do with blossoming and swaying at the end of the day? Well, when I saw this talk title, I was immediately, excited with the open at the top portion. Since my early days in religious science, like 12 or so years ago, I've been fascinated with the teachings of Ernest Holmes, as he had taken many of his spiritual principles from the ancient wisdom in some of the early religions. And then now, time and time again, these principles are reinforced by current scientific discoveries. And I keep asking myself, how did he know? How did the ancients know these things? I guess just trial and error and having the right mystics lead you down the path. But from meditation to spiritual mind treatment to faith and a number of other concepts, it seems that since Ernest Holmes' teachings were published, around 100 years ago, there are consistent scientific findings that these practices have a valid, logical justification. And Ernest Holmes himself said, it's important for religious science, which he referred to it at the time, to remain open at the top. And I think that this is what I think open at the top begins with: an ability to know that we are making the correct forward, upward steps in building consciousness and being open to new discoveries in the human mind, and being willing and able to accept them and adopt them in our science of mind, vocabulary, and mindset. One such advance that is so very highly consistent with our teaching is the new discoveries in what is termed quantum physics. And I understand, many of you are right now saying, oh, great, more quantum stuff that I don't really understand. I get it. It can be pretty mind-boggling. As a quantum scientist has been quoted as saying, and I think this is one of the best quotes about quantum physics going, if you think you understand how quantum mechanics works, you probably don't understand quantum mechanics. That one kind of makes me laugh. But so I get it that there's kind of a gap between where we see the physical world and where we see the quantum world, and where are we in between. But a couple months ago, Reverend Rachel referenced some of the fascinating experiments that have defined the early understanding of quantum physics, and proved that the result of these experiments really proved that the results were influenced by the act of observation, by the fact that people were observing actually changed the outcome of the experiments. She referenced a book by Dr. Greg Braden, who calls his book The Divine Matrix, which is right up my alley. So I immediately bought the book, downloaded it, read it, and dived in head first. One of the things that Braden describes in great detail is this observer effect that they call it, and that observation really is an act of creation itself, and that consciousness is actually doing this creation. And he goes on to describe a tapestry of energy. It's kind of like an interlinking of energy that is connecting our bodies to the world and then to the universe. And while scientists haven't really fully developed an understanding of what this energy matrix is, there's developing evidence that it is there, and that it responds to our thoughts and our emotions. I think that's just fascinating. And in my mind, this open at the top concept, the divine matrix included, helps define the how of the beliefs that through the power of mind, the universal mind, we can control our conditions and emancipate ourselves from these forms of discord, any form of discord. And that this divinely created energy matrix is the medium through which these beneficial life changes can occur. So as we're being buffeted by these changes that are inevitable in life, it is actually our right thought that allows us to blossom and to continue to define who we are. And then, when we consider that we're all connected by this infinite energetic matrix, doesn't that make you think a little deeper about how each and every one of us is connected to each and every one else in this universe? I mean, Stephanie talked about the gap between what we see and the other, but in reality, we're all connected. So doesn't that make you think twice before you go send that tweet that is intended to diminish or divide from someone else? And doesn't that make you think twice before supporting a political candidate who wants to play partisan politics rather than bring people together? And doesn't that make you think twice before condemning the driver who cut you off in traffic and passing that judgment? So the second part of being open at the top, adopting these new thoughts, theories, technologies, supports us in continually spiraling our consciousness upward. And I think that's what blossoming in the swaying is all about. So I'd like to close with an affirmation. Marina, if you could pull that up for me, please. And afterward, we'll go directly into our closing prayer. And the affirmation is, today I surrender to the presence of God within me as me. Now I'll say it one more time, and I invite you to join in with me. Today I surrender to the presence of God within me as me. Thank you. All right. So I know that today, as we're having this celebration of life for the ongoing life of what's going on here at Center of Spiritual Living in St. George, I know that we do that in the presence of the One. And I know that today I am one with this fantastic Spirit, this fantastic God who just makes everything perfect and come off perfectly. And I know that everyone within the sound of my voice is in this same relation, is one with the Spirit, with the true omniscient Spirit that we call life, that we call God. So I know that today's service has hit on a number of different, varying, important, and deep subjects. And I'm grateful for what is transpired today. I'm grateful for the work of Donnie Lee in teaching us and showing us about our magnificence. I'm grateful for Donnie showing us and asking us to be brave. And I'm grateful for Marina for selecting both of those musical videos today. I'm grateful for the work of the practitioners in putting together their talks, and I am thankful to know Sue's perspective on the aging process and taking away that fear, and I'm grateful for Stephanie showing us that gap and the analysis and how to work with that and through that in the process. And speaking of process, Marina bringing in the living process and how that really brings the body and the mind together. I'm just grateful for all that. And I know that all these things incorporated together kind of show us who we are and how we can continue to blossom in the swaying. So it's with extreme gratitude that I bring this day to a close. And so it is.
And so it is. Wow, that was a deep day. Wow, thank you, all three of you, Bill, Sue.
Thank you, Marina.
That was really glorious. I appreciate all the things you had to say.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, so let's get through the announcements quickly so that we can move on to the Zoom in a few minutes. We invite you to join in the abundant prosperity that is Center for Spiritual Living St. George. All of the information is in the newsletter about giving through Zelle, through your bank, giving through PayPal, or sending us a physical check by mail, which still happens. So in our offering affirmation for gratitude for your participation in the Law of Prosperity with CSL St. George, I am overflowing with love and abundance. I give from the source of my being, which is rich and unlimited. With joy and excitement, I share from this overflow. In return, the universe gives back to me in infinite ways, channels, and means. And so it is. So we are still having a Zoom conversation at noon. At obviously will be a little more like 12:10 before we get there. But please do join us if you are available, and do email any questions or comments you ever have to revjo@cslstgeorge.org. Our next in-person service is April 13th, Visioning Beyond the Horizon at the same place, the Masonic Lodge. Prayer requests can be made online. Click on a practitioner's picture and send them a message, and they're ready and waiting to support you in whatever is going on in your life. The annual meeting will be after service on April 13th at the lodge. It will start at 12:30, so we'll have a small break to get a snack and socialize a bit. And then we will gather back around, and Charles will give us a financial update. We will introduce to you the new candidates for Core Council who've been approved by the Core Council, and any registered member can vote on accepting the new Core Council staff. So please be there. And we will also talk about the survey that we just sent out. If you have not filled that out, please do lend us your voice. And we will also talk about our feet being on the ground, trying to look for a permanent location. So we'll update you on that. Next two services, April 6th on Zoom, or not on Zoom, actually, on StreamYard. Just right where you're looking today, enriching our soil of possibilities. And then, as I said before, the 13th in person, Visioning Beyond the Horizon, with the annual meeting following. So now I will bring all these lovely folks back up, and we will do the closing affirmation right there. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it, I embrace it, and I share it.
Just the way that it is, and just the way that it is becoming. Thank you.
Live. Thanks for being here, everybody.
See you on Zoom.
Give me about 2 minutes and we'll be there.
Okay.
Have a great
See you on
day.
the other side.